Interview session number 3 with James, April 5th, 2008. Copyright 2008. WingMakers. All rights reserved. James, before you go further, let me get clear on this one thing. So the WingMakers are a composite entity that's in our future, right? And I guess in other words, we're all in some far distant future going to become unified as one consciousness somewhere in space. And every once in a while, a person like you will project their consciousness far enough into this future of space-time and make contact. Is that what you're saying?
It's a complicated exchange of ideas. Let me try it this way. But first let me be clear that it's no one's shortcoming, that this is hard to understand for you, or anyone else listening to this dialogue. It's equally hard to describe for me, so I'll take credit for the abstraction, if you will. The WingMakers have a different frequency of existence, which is to say, they operate without the density of our human instruments at this stage of their existence. But this is different than being discarnate or entities that have left their bodies through death. They still operate in a human instrument. It's just a finer frequency of light or quantum structure, but it's still a sheath or instrument of individuality. Now, one of the byproducts of living in this finer frequency is that the walls between individuality and unity are permeable. So the ability to move between the individual state and the state of union is simply a thought away. Just as we shift thoughts, they can move from sovereign individuality to oneness in consciousness and back again with ease. In the state of oneness, the WingMakers, as a state of collective consciousness, have access to the shared holographic records that have been compiled over the species' evolutionary rise from a simple biped to an enlightened, coherent collective, aligned to the frequencies of source intelligence. So with access to this hologram, they can insert themselves into our space-time as an event string. This is carefully engineered to reveal their identities, but always clothed in a mythological context, so they remain meaningful, rather than just informational or worse yet, objects of fear.
What do you mean by that?
You may not realize this, Mark. A few people do, I suppose, but lotus seeds and date palm seeds, they've shown themselves to retain their germinative powers even after 1,000 years. And several years ago, I remember hearing of a date palm seed that was over 2,000 years old that had grown into a tree. So these seeds preserve their powers of life and transformation. Now, the relevance of this is that mythological stories are like these seeds. They retain their potency because they are not trying to be explanatory, but rather meaningful. Everything in today's culture tends to gravitate around explaining what this information means in terms of usefulness. But in the case of the WingMakers, they're more interested in activating people who are prepared to become sovereign entities, and then to apply this empowerment to their local universe and transform it. If you were to draw a circle around you that extended 15, let's say 20 feet in diameter, that is approximately your local universe. This is your conscious, energetic environment, and in the grand scheme of a multiverse of unlimited scope, it may seem like a pittance, like a tiny particle in a boundless ocean. But in reality, what is contained in this sphere of consciousness is much more than the spatial volume of 4,200 cubic feet, because within this sphere, the dimensions of the multiverse are present. Even though they're not visible to your senses, they are still there. And so you have to think of this spatial volume, the energetic sphere of your local universe, as being the equivalent of a portal that connects you to the multiverse through the presence of your soul. This is the key message that the WingMakers embed in their mythologies, and this is the key message of my own work as well. The human self possesses a local multiverse whose chief architect and governing intelligence is your quantum presence, and this presence is composed of the fabric of source intelligence, And just as Source or Creator operates in the non-local multiverse, your presence operates in your local multiverse.